tell you a little bit about myself?
Yes,
Let's see
indeed,
here.
indeed.
I am, you want to know my age?
No, no, no,
Okay,
no.
got it. Let's see how
We
how
don't.
detailed you want it. Okay, so I am Naje Badu, formerly known as Kimberly Banks. I hail from Los Angeles, California. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here about 15 years. And I'm an artist and an author. Primarily started my creative display of talent as an artist and then segued into writing. So I currently have a book that's called Let Go of Your Butt in terms of my writing. And then I also have an upcoming book called Risen that will probably be out sometime December of this year. Is that enough?
That's a
Awesome.
lot. You That's a
That
lot.
is a lot.
So
Okay.
not only you're an author, but you're not
Uh-huh.
just an author, but a published author.
I'm a published author. Yes,
Yes,
thank you for that correction.
indeed, indeed. And you're also an artist.
I am an artist. Yes.
Excellent. So with that being said, I did notice that you changed your name. Why did you change your name?
Well, it's a couple of reasons. It depends on, do you want the long version or the short
The
version?
short
I'll
version,
take the
please.
short
Thank
version.
you.
You're absolutely good. Teamwork. So basically, it was a way. I went through a major depression in 2018, and it got me to thinking about a lot of the ways in which I am internally oppressed by some of social conditionings. And so, as a way for me to be an activist externally, I understood that I needed to kind of free myself and liberate myself from some of the internal oppression that I have. So, Naje Aditi Badu was a way of me liberating myself. So, Naje stands for powerful, beautiful, and Adi stands for strong beyond measure, and then Badu stands for queen. So, that is me giving birth to myself. I'll give you a really quick funny story about how I got started as an artist. So, when I was a child, I used to love coloring books. And the thing that fascinated me about coloring books was not necessarily putting color to paper and then filling out the image. It was more how the lines came together. So my mother would buy me tons and tons of coloring books. And then one day I asked her, "Mommy, how do I do that?" She said, "What?" I said, "How do I do that? This, the lines." She said, "The artist." And I said, "That's what I want to do." And so that's how that's the very first interest I had in art. And then also too, I have to be honest, candid, that my sister was an artist first. She was very good at sketching, and I was very very envious of that with her. And then I kind of started it on my own, and then I took off, and she stopped. So we passed the baton to one another. In terms of writing, I started writing in 1999 I think it was a form of kind of like therapy or catharticism for a lot of the things that I was going through internally. And so I started to write my own story. And then, because I've always been a reader as a child, so I was reading adult books at a very young age. And so the way words came together always fascinated me. And so what I started to realize is that just like lines, words can actually sculpt um, an image.
What is your creative works usually centered on?
Well, there has been a recent divergence from what it used to be. It used to be about womanhood, it used to be about music, it used to be culture, like, but now it has evolved into um, statements of social injustice or justice, social inequality or equality. So and unity. That's another thing that's really really huge in the topics of my artwork this year. And that is because I think we need more of it. I think that there's such a thing called intersectionality, which means that at the root of every injustice, like it affects us all, whether you're a woman, whether you're gay, straight, black, white, what have you. At the intersectionality of all of those things, in order for us to heal any one part of that injustice, you need unity in all areas of that. And that's the only way that we're going to progress as a country, as a nation, as a people. And so it's one, like basically all fights are one fight. And so that's what my work is centered on these days.
Explain artivism and creativism.
It's a great. You have all
Did
these.
you make these words up?
No, I did not make up artivism, but I did make up creativism. However, it's the merging of art and activism. And then, if you aren't an artist, a musician, or what have you, like you are, you have found creative ways to implement activism. And the reason why this is a very pointed topic in our conversation is because I have realized that I have a huge passion for activism, but you don't see me because of my personality out there on the front lines, marching or going with a bullhorn and yelling to the top of my lungs and fight, 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 pulling myself in front of bulldozers and sacrifice. But that isn't me. I just want people to understand that everyone has their own way of activism or creativism. And so for me, my pledge is to utilize the talent that God has given me to generate income that can go towards to those people who are out there in the front line. So this is just my form of activism. My writing will tell the truth. My writing will be bold. My art will tell the truth. My art will be bold, as a form of also provoking discussion. So that's another way art and activism come together.
Who are your favorite activists?
That's a great question. Wondering why I'm smiling so big. You wondering why I'm smiling so big?
Of course. It got
Because
to be
there's
good.
this one person who I have admired pretty much my entire life, with the exception of Martin Luther King. But Angela Davis, like, she's here for me. She's done so much for the community as it relates to writing, protesting, demonstrating, speaking, even teaching. To me, she is the activist for me. And then I have some other other activists that I admire, like Tamika Mallory, who is one of the co-founders of the Women's March. And then you have the likes of Maya Angelou, James Baldwin, who are activists in their own right and also contributed to the whole literature history of our culture. So those are just a few that I can think of right offhand.
So we know that you're taking your artwork and using it as your way of giving back. But what causes or movements or organizations are you interested in supporting through your creativity?
Well, as I mentioned a minute ago about intersectionality, I think at the root of all of that is feminism or gender equality. And I think the thing that has me so excited about contributing to that is that today we are seeing a rise of women who are owning their power and standing for equality and equity. So right now, the main cause that I'm looking for is any organization or institution that is supportive of the advancement and equality and equity of a woman.
What was it that caused you to consider using your art as means of giving back?
Wow, another profound question.
I'm on it.
Can I shift for that? I gotta get comfortable for that one.
Get comfortable.
Okay. So really, I gotta give a shout out to my father. I called him probably mid-year last year to kind of have a discussion about some of the atrocities that we're all witnessing, especially in the Black community as it relates to police brutality. And I had a conversation with him about a number of things. But I was a little confused as to how can I help with contributing to change. And he told me that you use the gift that God has given you. You're an awesome writer. You're an amazing artist. You use that to document our history. That is a way that you can contribute. And he likened it to the artwork, which we now know as the hieroglyphics on the walls of the pyramids, and how those images are telling the story of that time. And so my way of contributing to is documenting the things that we're going through now, which hopefully 100 years from now, 200 years from now, um, our the trajectory of where we're headed now will have changed, and it will be an entirely different nation, one that is inclusive and loving versus the one that we are experiencing today.
What are the changes you wish to see in the world?
Um, it's one major change. I mean, I could go through a list of things like social justice, equality, gender equality. Like I could name a lot of that, which you all will get to understand in some of my writing and in some of my work. But I think the biggest thing that I think is what I would like to see is basically human beings being able to filter their thoughts, their actions, and their behaviors, their choices and decisions through the lens of love and compassion. I think that the world now really needs a hug. And so there's a lot of us who are hurting. There's a lot of us who are bleeding, and I really would like to see us love one another. That's the, I mean, and that could come in a multitude of ways, but pretty much the foundation is love and compassion, a display of more love and a display of more compassion.
How do you aim to contribute to the change?
So in my works, and those of who have followed me up until this point know I'm extremely inspirational. I've had my own art hardships. I've had my own feelings of life that could kind of knock me down. But at the end of the day, I always get up and I choose to take my hardship, turn it around into something optimistic, and then use that to inspire others, people to follow their own dreams and not give up on themselves and things like that. So basically how I aim to contribute to that is not only continue to do artwork and writing that are inspirational, but also now to take it up another level and use it to raise funds to give back to certain organizations and institutions that are actually out there in the front lines.
What does your legacy entail? What is it you would like to accomplish by the time you leave this earth?
Such a huge question. Why are you challenging me so much? Let's see. My legacy is centered on one word. Love. I want everyone that I have come in contact with to have experienced some sort of light in terms of energy, spirit in terms of God, and love in terms of connection. I want to spark conversations that get us to recognize that we are more similar than we are different as a culture, as a people, as humans. So I want my work to contribute to the advancement of that, of love and unity. And that's the main reason why the title of this exhibit is the Unity Collection. It's the beginning of me living the rest of my life committed to that.